Revenge with Karen. I was halfway through rehearsing my promotion pitch. Yes, I practiced in the damn bathroom mirror like a teenager with a crush, when the espresso machine hissed out of milk again. Third time this week. Symbolic, really. 6 years of keeping this place running like clockwork, and I still couldn't get operations to refill the kitchen supplies on time. You build the whole partnerships division from the ground up, bring in 8-figure contracts, in a revolving door of sales bros who think CRMs run on vibes, and still, you're the one stuck microwaving oat milk at 8:17 a.m. But that morning felt different. Hopeful, even. My blazer didn't pinch at the shoulders. The sky was clear. I triple confirmed the board meeting where they'd announced the new VP. My VP title. The one I'd been quietly promised in 1,000 wink nudge, just be patient conversations with upper leadership. One that would finally get me out of the basement office that still smelled faintly of the startup founder's CrossFit socks. And Kyle? Kyle was supposed to be my intern. A golden retriever in a suit type, straight out of Wharton with teeth so white they reflected Slack messages. I took him on as a mentee because the CTO said he had great optics. That's tech speak for. He's young, loud, and knows how to use LinkedIn like a damn influencer. Once ended a pitch deck with a gif of Elon Musk winking. Leadership ate it up. I was the one who taught him where the clients hide their real objections. How to decode procurement politics. How to write follow-up emails that didn't sound like a chatbot's fever dream. Kyle smiled a lot, but that boy couldn't read a room with a map and a flashlight. Still, I did what they asked. I trained him. I smiled through it. I watched him take credit for insights I whispered in his ear seconds before he opened his mouth. They say hard work pays off. What they don't say is that it pays someone else, usually the guy who signs his emails best, and plays golf with the VP's nephew. By the way, since 97% of folks listening to these stories aren't subscribed yet. Yeah, I see you, lurking like Kyle in my client calls. Go ahead and tap that subscribe button. It helps way more than you'd think. And maybe toss a like too. The team here actually cheers when they see one, like out loud. It's embarrassing but endearing. Okay, back to the story. My Google Calendar looked like a nuclear reactor blueprint. Every call, every deliverable color-coded within an inch of its life. Legal reviews in orange, client onboarding in teal. My Thursday ones with the VP in aggressive corporate gray. But one block, tucked quietly at 6:45 p.m. every other Wednesday, was blood red. Title, Personal LLC Transfer Review. Private, no invitees. Because while they were busy letting Kyle fumble through client pitches and stealing my Thunder One Gartner quote at a time, I was preparing for something they didn't see coming. Not because I was sneaky, though I was, but because they never really looked. Be shocked how invisible you can become after 20 years of being dependable. My name wasn't trending on Slack. My wins weren't announced in all hands, but my name was on nearly every master service agreement with our top-tier clients. Legacy contracts, signed before Kyle ever had a login. You don't forget where the bodies or the revenue are buried when you're the one who built the graveyard. So yeah, that morning I felt nervous, but proud. Not desperate, not hungry, not like Kyle, who still mistook charisma for competence. No, I had something he'd never touch, and he had no idea I was already moving the pieces off the board. Just a quick sync, the VP had said. Those 3 words are corporate landmines. Nothing good ever came from a quick sync. You don't get surprise parties or stock options from a quick sync. You get layoffs, pivots, and, if you're real lucky, generic compliment about your team spirit before they kick your ladder out from under you. It was 10:03 a.m. when I walked into the glass box they call a focus pod, which somehow had less privacy than a Taco Bell bathroom. The VP was already seated, latte in hand, fake concern face loaded and ready. You know that expression, eyebrows up, lips flat, like they're bracing for an earthquake only they get to cause. He didn't waste time, made a decision about the VP role. The mysterious, invisible cabal of decision-makers who never once sat through a quarterly review but always know who deserves what. He cleared his throat. We've decided to go with Kyle. I stared at him for a full beat, not shocked, just buffering. He kept going like I was a podcast he'd unpaused. We really feel like he brings fresh energy to the department. He's a bit more forward-facing. Speaks the lingo. Know how it is. Oh, I knew exactly how it was. Fresh energy meant young, shiny, marketable. Forward-facing meant can hold a cocktail without sweating through his shirt. And speaks the lingo. That one just meant he tweets in buzzwords and tags the company account. Meanwhile, I'd been the one negotiating with procurement vultures and greasing enterprise wheels, since Kyle still thought churn rate meant lactose intolerance. I didn't say anything, just nodded once, slow. Could feel my ears burning, like the shame was radiating outward in concentric humiliation waves. I wondered if anyone outside the pod could hear it, the sound of 20 years of effort being swallowed by a smiling boy in a Patagonia vest. Then came the cherry on the turd sundae. Kyle knocked on the glass, poked his head in, all enthusiastic like a Labrador on Adderall. Hey, just heard the news. Wow, wow, couldn't have done it without you. Turned to the VP, laughing. She's been my Jedi master, right? Then to me. Seriously though, I'll need your help onboarding to the big stuff. Can we sit down tomorrow? Get me up to speed on the, legacy pipelines and stuff. Legacy pipelines. I wanted to tell him that my legacy was the only reason he had a pipeline to fumble through, that I'd cleaned up enough of his messes to qualify for hazard pay. He once attached a JPG of a proposal instead of the actual PDF, and I had to spend 2 hours pretending he was just experimenting with client engagement techniques. But instead, I smiled, cool, clean like ice on a bruise. Of course, I said, voice smooth as whiteout, happy to help. And in that moment, I wasn't humiliated. I wasn't even angry. I was activated. I spent the next 2 weeks playing corporate geisha, smiling, nodding, saying things like, great question. Kyle, even when he asked why Q4 retention mattered if Q1 growth looked spicy. He'd stumble through meetings, dropping buzzwords like birdseed, hoping some stakeholder would peck them up. I'd gently redirect what Kyle means to say is, and clean it up without making it obvious. That's what decades of being overlooked gets you. The skill of making other people look competent while they quietly dig your grave. Every time I helped him, I was also helping me. Because while Kyle played dress-up VP, I was backing up every file that mattered. Client intel, pricing history, churn risk flags, margin-adjusted bundling strategies, stuff that wouldn't even make sense to him if I tattooed it on his smoothie cup. I double-checked the NDA buried in my onboarding paperwork from 2017. It was a blanket non-compete, standard fare, airtight to a rookie eye. There was a loophole the size of Kyle's ego. It only applied to active employment. Nothing about pre-separation side ventures. And nothing, absolutely nothing, about clients whose contracts bore my name. I opened the document vault and started scrubbing. Gently, strategically. I replaced decks with newer simplified versions, cleaner branding, fewer names. If anyone noticed that my initials were missing from proposal footers, they didn't say a word. I changed sharing permissions on the older decks to view only and slowly removed myself as owner from the shared folders. Let Kyle try duplicating that content. He'd end up with a blank slide and a broken heart. Then I began the outreach. Nothing dramatic, no big announcements. Just little nudges. Casual hellos to old procurement leads and COOs I knew had teenage daughters and golf injuries. Hey, just checking in. Wanted to make sure everything's going smoothly with our side. If there's ever anything I can do, here's my personal number. Direct line. No signature, no logo, just my name. Simple, familiar. A few replied instantly, thrilled I'd reached out. One even said, so glad you messaged. I didn't want to bug you through official channels. Another asked if I was finally going independent, and I just sent a smiley face and said, not yet, but stay tuned. Came the turning point. I was scrolling through DocuSign records late one night, don't ask how I still had access, and found something that made me pause. My name, over and over. I was still the signatory on our 10 largest deals. They never reassigned the contracts after my last promotion, which meant that legally, all their biggest clients still had my name at the bottom of their service agreements. I sat there staring at the screen, hum of the fridge in my apartment suddenly louder than God. They gave Kyle my parking spot, my promotion, my bonus, my seat at the table, but they forgot something. They forgot the foundation. And the thing about foundations, if you're the one who poured the concrete, you know exactly where to crack it. Watching Kyle try to manage the client portfolio was like watching someone eat a lobster with a spoon. He had the suit, the teeth, the LinkedIn endorsements, none of the instincts. He'd breeze into meetings late, talk about synergies like it was seasoning, and completely miss when a client hinted they were getting cold feet. I had to stop myself from throwing him a lifeline every time he started drowning in his own pitch deck. Instead, I let him flail. Publicly, I played the loyal lieutenant, offering gentle clarifications mid-call, sending follow-up summaries he couldn't write himself, tending that his dead-eyed rambling was a deliberate pause for emphasis. Privately, I was laying pipe. I'd started funneling select clients toward external solution partners, little boutique service firms I'd invented on paper, all funneled through my LLC. I used generic-sounding names, created slick one-pagers, even registered a few disposable domains. To the client, it looked like we were expanding our ecosystem. To the company, it looked like nothing at all. To me, it was the beginning of freedom. Kyle once told a legacy client that our custom integration strategy was a little outdated, but still good for compliance vibes. Compliance vibes. I spent the next 2 days untangling the mess, and when the client asked for a backup option just in case, I said, "We've recently been collaborating with a smaller tech firm that's nimbler on data ops. I can make an intro." She nodded. "That'd be great. Trust your judgment." One by one, I started moving the chess pieces. Another client, big finance, high maintenance, hated jargon, asked why Kyle kept calling them scalable. I smoothed it over, then casually mentioned we were testing a new partner firm that could offer a more white-glove approach. Their ears perked up. "Send us their deck." I did. It was mine. The Friday meeting that week was the piece de resistance. Kyle stumbled through a proposal I'd written start to finish, mispronounced the product name twice, and still got a standing ovation from the VP. The VP even winked at me like we were sharing some adorable secret. "See," he said, patting Kyle on the back. "This is the kind of strategic thinking we've been missing. Feels fresh." I smiled so hard my jaw cracked. That night, I opened a new bank account under my LLC. Then I logged into Stripe and transferred the first client retainer. 5 figures, wired clean. That was just the beginning. Because while Kyle was out there posting selfies from networking events, I was building something real. Something they wouldn't see coming until it was already theirs. And mine. It started with a breakfast meeting at a place that didn't take corporate cards. That was intentional. The partner, let's call her Ava, had been with us for years. Big account. Enterprise level. The kind of logo companies put on the homepage just to flex. Didn't meet in the office. We didn't book a conference room. We met at a tucked-away French cafe 2 blocks off the company radar. I had the contracts in a neutral folder, no letterhead. My signature was already dry. All I needed was hers. She took 1 bite of her croissant, skimmed the deal, and said, "Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't do this sooner." And just like that, our biggest account was mine, not the company's. Mine. Deal had technically been routed through a procurement scout I'd introduced her to, someone with a Gmail, a LinkedIn profile 3 months old, and a resume curated to look like a consulting nomad. They never traced it back to me. They didn't even look. 2 days later, I got a weird ping from one of our older clients. CFO type, polite but cagey. Said they were pausing current expansion discussions to reevaluate vendor alignment, which is MBA speak for, "We're jumping ship, and you're lucky we're telling you at all." I forwarded the message to Kyle. He replied with a single thumbs-up emoji. Later that afternoon, I watched him pace outside the kitchen like a cat with no door to scratch. His face was stiff. His phone stayed glued to his hand like he was waiting for it to apologize. In the next strategy call, he talked faster than usual, stammered through the QBR numbers, then made a weird joke about seasonal deal hibernation that no one laughed at. Then it happened. A Slack notification popped up on my screen while I was in the middle of sanitizing another pitch deck. Kyle deleted a message. So I pulled up the audit trail. Don't ask how. I still had admin access from a system migration no one ever revoked. Sloppy. The deleted message read, "Do I still need to CC her on these anymore?" It was sent in a thread with the VP about client proposals, about me. I screenshotted it, timestamp and all. Kyle thought I was done. Thought I was an extra character in his story, a sidekick fading to black once he got his crown. But I wasn't gone. I was everywhere he didn't look. I was in the NDAs, in the back channels, in the contracts he didn't know still had clauses tying clients to me personally. I was inside the ecosystem, gutting it from the inside out. When he started noticing the silence, the empty reply chains, the postponed demos, the confusion in voices that used to be warm, he didn't connect the dots. Because Kyle never saw the full picture. He only saw the spotlight. But I was the scaffolding, and I just started pulling out the screws. The CEO scheduled the all-hands with a subject line so smug it should have come with cologne samples. Leadership evolution and exciting wins. That kind of title always means one of two things. Somebody's getting canned, or somebody's getting a cookie they don't deserve. Turned out to be the latter. Kyle beamed on Zoom like a game show contestant who just guessed the price of dish soap. "I just want to thank everyone for believing in me," he said, eyes glinting with performative humility. "Especially those who helped shape me. Couldn't have done it without the incredible mentorship I've had here." Glanced at my little square in the corner like I was a decorative trophy, something you dust off before company comes over. The chat exploded with claps and emojis, and too many people writing well-deserved in all caps. I muted the call, sipped my coffee, and opened a draft titled, Subject, Transition Update. My resignation email was painfully boring. A masterclass in HR safe beige. After 6 wonderful years, I've decided it's time for my next chapter. I'm deeply grateful for all I've learned here and proud of the work we've done together. My last day will be in 2 weeks, and I'll do everything I can to ensure a smooth handoff. Wishing the team all the best, I clicked send. Then I sat back and watched the slow bleed begin. By Monday, Kyle had officially inherited my accounts. By Tuesday, he realized none of them were answering. Email threads went cold. Calendar invites sat untouched. Outreach attempts got met with cheery auto-replies. "I'll be out of the office indefinitely. Please contact our alternate solutions partner at newemail@naudiercompany.com." He cornered me near the copy machine. "Hey, weird question. Did you hear anything from big client lately? I think I might have missed a message." I smiled like I didn't already know that the client had wired their Q2 budget to my LLC's business checking last week. "Nope, could just be a busy quarter." He nodded, uneasy. Yeah, just feels a little quiet." "Oh, Kyle, you sweet summer intern." He didn't know I'd quietly set Gmail filters that redirected any high-tier client messages containing my name, specific project codes, or even phrases like renewal discussion away from the shared inbox. Those messages never made it to him. I still had access. Because no one revoked my admin settings when they should have, because they were too busy clapping for Kyle, and because I was too boring to be dangerous, or so they thought. He spent the rest of the week chasing ghosts, clients who were no longer theirs, inboxes that led nowhere, meetings that evaporated before they began. They gave him the title. I took the empire, and I didn't raise my voice once. The energy around the office shifted like spoiled milk, subtle at first, then unmistakable. The Slack channels went quiet. Sales leaderboard stopped updating. Someone canceled the monthly lunch and learn, and nobody even pretended to be disappointed. Morale didn't just dip, it vanished, like someone had pulled a plug in the middle of the night and let all the fizz drain out. And the numbers stopped playing nice. 1 week after I left, Q2 projections were revised, quietly. No town hall, no apology, just a new slide and a Friday deck, with smaller numbers and larger margins of error. Someone added market headwinds in italics, like that would explain why half the deals in progress had gone radio silent. The VP looked more tired every day. HR sent out a weirdly cheerful email about embracing team resilience. Kyle stopped posting motivational quotes on LinkedIn and started wearing the same shirt twice in 1 week. Meanwhile, I vanished. No press release about where I went. No big announcement post. My LinkedIn still said SAW S Partnerships Director like I was frozen in amber. No conferences, no webinars, just silence. I didn't even reply to the ex-colleagues who slid into my DMs asking so. Where'd you go? I left them on read. It was cleaner that way. But Kyle, bless him, he couldn't let it go. He started sniffing around like a dog who lost his favorite squeaky toy. Heard through the grapevine that he asked one of the junior reps if I had taken any client contact info by mistake. That same junior rep later forwarded me the message with the caption, "Lol, he's panicking." I was never loud, never reckless. I didn't print out contact sheets or forward confidential files to my Gmail. I didn't need to, because everything I built, I memorized. Every deal I closed, every key stakeholder, I knew their kids' names and their weird holiday schedules, and which wine to bring if I ever visited in person. You can't trace muscle memory. Kyle tried checking the CRM for pattern. He had it pull logs, hoping for smoking gun. What he found instead were ghosts. Multiple high-value contacts were now tagged as inactive. No dates attached. No clear reason listed. Just vanished. IT chalked it up to an import glitch. But Kyle knew better, knew the pipeline was rotting from the inside, that his name wasn't strong enough to hold weight without mine attached. He just didn't have a way to prove it. And I was finally free of their noise, of their clapping and buzzwords and empty kudos in retro meetings. I was invisible, and for the first time in years, that felt like power. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon, the kind where the sun mocks you for ever believing in order. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Hey, it's Mel," said a shaky voice. Melanie, one of the junior ops girls I used to loop in on strategy calls just so she could speak up without being drowned out by testosterone and acronyms. "They're freaking out," she whispered, like full-on panic mode. VP's locked in a room with Kyle. It's pulling logs, legals rereading your exit email like it's the Zapruder film. People think you sabotaged the pipeline. I let that hang in the air. "Did you?" she asked, half laughing. I smiled, really smiled for the first time in weeks. "I didn't sabotage anything," I said. "I just reorganized it." That night, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number, no message preview, just the name, CEO. I didn't answer. He followed up with a text. "Why did you resign so suddenly?" No pleasantries. No "hope you're well," just that. I sat with it, let it marinate. I could have sent a polite paragraph, vague nod to personal growth or new adventures. But no, not now. I typed 3 words, "check the pipeline." Then I turned off my phone and poured a glass of wine, one of the expensive ones from the client gift basket Ava sent to my home address. By the time morning meetings resumed at HQ, the panic had metastasized, because someone finally did check the pipeline. Every major deal from Q2, gone. Marked as reevaluated, paused indefinitely, or simply stripped from the CRM altogether. One lead was tied to a new vendor account registered just 4 weeks prior. Another, tagged as lost to competitor, listed a redirect email address that routed straight to my new operations lead, the same one they laid off 6 months ago for budget reasons. Investor relations flagged the drop in forecast. Finance sent an emergency report labeled confidential urgent. Projections weren't just low, were crumbling, like they'd been hollowed out from the inside. Kyle didn't speak in meetings that day. The VP started referring to things as anomalies, and the CEO just stared at the numbers like they'd betrayed him. But numbers don't lie. They just follow whoever holds the pen. The memo wasn't supposed to leak, but these places always bleed from the inside when the water gets hot enough. An anonymous post hit a mid-tier industry forum, just vague enough to fly under legal radar, just detailed enough to crack jaws. 3 major clients shift allegiance to newly formed boutique firm. Source says execs didn't even see it coming. Within hours, screenshots circulated like wildfire. Someone matched the clients. Someone else traced the new firm's name, sleek, modern, vague enough to sound harmless, to a fresh LLC filed 4 months earlier in Delaware. New website, new branding, clean as a whistle. Then someone found the team page. There I was, not hiding, not smirking. just standing beside the two people they never thought to keep: a razor-sharp analyst they downsized last winter, and a client success manager they ghosted after maternity leave. My revenge wasn't loud. It was surgical. Kyle was the first to go. Not fired, just quietly moved back into a strategic support role. His name disappeared from the org chart like a deleted comment. The VP, early retirement. The kind with an NDA and a severance clause that tastes like gravel. By Q3, the company's valuation dropped. Not a crash, but a slow, sickly leak. Clients stopped renewing. New ones wouldn't bite. The word was out. Their golden goose had flown the coop with all the eggs. And me. I was watching it unfold from an ocean view condo with tile floors so cold they felt like justice underfoot. The breeze came in salty and clean, erasing the scent of recycled boardroom air and fake laughter. I poured myself a coffee. Ethiopian roast, rich, black, unbothered. The mug was matte black, heavy, embossed with a single logo. Mine, not some tech bro startup font or buzzword salad. Just clean lines, name they never thought to notice until it was printed across their loss reports. I stood at the window, watching the light hit the water like a spreadsheet finally making sense. No emails, no calls, no guilt. Some pipelines burst. Mine just flowed elsewhere. What hit me most was how calmly she played the long game. No drama, no yelling, just ruthless precision. It's a reminder that real power doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just reroutes the entire future with a smile. You're the real stars of the corporate jungle. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, or I'll flick the switch on your old cubicle memories.